The West Philippine Sea is more than just a stretch of water. It's a living, breathing expanse that shapes the destiny of millions. Stretching across the western coast of the Philippines, these waters are a source of life, culture, and hope for generations. It's the Philippines' economic lifeline, sustaining coastal communities who depend on its bounty for their daily survival and livelihoods. The sea is a symbol of national identity, woven into the fabric of Filipino heritage. Its rich fishing grounds provide not only food, but also a sense of pride and belonging. Beneath its waves lie untapped oil and gas reserves, promising energy security and economic growth for the future. These resources are vital for food security, local economies, and the prosperity of generations yet to come. For many Filipinos, the sea is also a classroom, teaching lessons of resilience, stewardship, and unity in the face of adversity. For China, these waters, dubbed the South China Sea, are central to its ambitions of regional dominance, encapsulated by its sweeping 10-dash line claim, which overlaps with the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. Control here means leverage over global trade, as nearly a third of the world's shipping passes through these strategic sea lanes every year. It's also a platform for projecting military power, with fortified islands and patrols asserting presence and influence. This contest challenges the influence of the U.S. and its allies, who seek to uphold freedom of navigation and a rules-based order. The resulting clash has turned the West Philippine Sea into a global flashpoint, where tensions can escalate with a single miscalculation. Here, a rising superpower is pitted against a determined nation defending its rights, dignity, and future. The outcome of this struggle will shape international law, freedom of navigation, and the rules that govern the world's oceans. It will also determine the stability of the Indo-Pacific, affecting the lives of billions far beyond these shores. This is not just a territorial dispute. It's a battle over principles, sovereignty, and the right of nations to chart their own destiny. The future order of the region hangs in the balance, as nations and peoples watch, hope, and prepare for what comes next. China's claim, based on its historic 9-dash line, covers nearly 90% of the South China Sea, overlapping the exclusive economic zones of several countries. The Philippines challenged this through international law, leading to the 2016 Hague ruling that invalidated China's claim and affirmed Manila's rights. The tribunal's decision was a landmark victory for the rules-based order, establishing that international law, not power, should govern the seas. China rejected the ruling outright, refusing to comply and intensifying its activities in the contested waters. This standoff between legal principle and power politics remains the core of the ongoing tension. The West Philippine Sea is now a test case for whether law or force will shape the region's future. Since 2016, China has dramatically escalated its control over the West Philippine Sea, employing so-called gray zone tactics, methods of coercion that stop short of outright warfare but are designed to intimidate and dominate. These tactics blur the line between peace and conflict, making it difficult for the Philippines and the international community to respond effectively. By operating in this ambiguous space, China seeks to assert its claims without triggering a full-scale military confrontation. The China Coast Guard, which increasingly acts more like a navy than a civilian force, routinely harasses Philippine vessels. They use water cannons, military-grade lasers, and aggressive maneuvers to drive away Filipino ships and assert dominance. These confrontations are not isolated incidents. They are part of a systematic campaign to wear down resistance and establish control over disputed waters. Backed by a vast, state-directed maritime militia, swarms of Chinese ships blockade key areas, intimidate Filipino fishermen, and normalize a constant Chinese presence. These so-called fishing vessels are often equipped for surveillance and enforcement, acting as an unofficial extension of China's maritime power. Their overwhelming numbers make it nearly impossible for local fishermen to operate safely or freely. As a result, Filipino fishermen now face constant danger at sea, economic hardship, and the loss of their traditional livelihoods. Many return home with empty nets, unable to provide for their families. The psychological toll is immense, as entire coastal communities live in fear and uncertainty about their future. The ongoing blockade of the BRP Sierra Madre at Second Thomas Shoal is a stark example of China's strategy to choke off Philippine outposts. Supplies and personnel are routinely harassed, making resupply missions dangerous and unpredictable. This slow, relentless pressure is designed to force the Philippines to abandon its positions without a direct fight. Recent armed confrontations have resulted in injuries to Filipino crew members, raising the risk of escalation and a wider conflict. Each incident increases the possibility of miscalculation, which could quickly spiral into a larger regional crisis. These aggressive actions destabilize the entire region, threatening peace and security not just for the Philippines, but for all nations with interests in the South China Sea. Diplomatic efforts are ongoing, but tensions remain high as military buildups and patrols continue. The human and strategic costs are mounting with every new incident. Filipino families watch anxiously as the situation unfolds, while military planners brace for further escalation. With each confrontation, the region is pushed closer to a potential crisis that could have far-reaching consequences for peace and stability in Asia. After violent clashes in 2024, a brief truce allowed Philippine resupply missions to 2nd Thomas Shoal. This pause was narrow and temporary, failing to address broader issues like China's blockade of Scarborough Shoal or harassment of fishermen. Once the crisis eased, China shifted its pressure elsewhere, redeploying maritime militia to other contested areas. The truce exposed the limits of informal deals that ignore the root conflict. Beijing's strategy remains unchanged: relentless pursuit of control over the West Philippine Sea. The Philippine government, recognizing this, resolved to adopt a more robust, multifaceted defense. The struggle entered a new, more determined phase. President Marcos Jr.'s administration has shifted to assertive transparency, exposing Chinese harassment through public documentation and global advocacy. The Philippines is modernizing its military, acquiring advanced missiles, ships, and surveillance systems to deter aggression. Strengthening alliances is now central, moving beyond ASEAN's slow consensus to build coalitions with like-minded nations. Legal action continues with new maritime laws and plans for further international cases against China, including for environmental damage. This multi-pronged approach, public diplomacy, military upgrades, alliances, and lawfare, aims to defend sovereignty against overwhelming odds. The strategy is clear: rally international support, build credible deterrence, and assert the Philippines' rights on every front. Manila is determined not to stand alone. The nation is transforming its defense posture for a new era. The stakes have never been higher. The U.S.-Philippines alliance, anchored by the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, is stronger than ever, standing as a pillar of stability in a region marked by rising tensions. Decades of partnership have built deep trust and interoperability between the two militaries, and recent events have only reinforced their shared commitment to each other's security and sovereignty. With explicit American security guarantees for Philippine forces in the South China Sea, Washington has made it clear that any attack on Philippine assets will trigger a robust response. This assurance has emboldened Manila to defend its maritime rights more assertively, knowing it is not alone. Expanded U.S. access to Philippine bases and new intelligence-sharing agreements have deepened military cooperation, allowing for faster response times and more effective joint operations. Regular joint exercises and coordinated patrols have become the new normal, strengthening deterrence against potential threats. Japan and Australia have become vital partners, recognizing that regional security is a shared responsibility. Their support extends beyond words with tangible deployments and high-level defense dialogues. These countries now conduct joint patrols with the Philippines and have signed new defense pacts in Manila, signaling a united front against coercion and aggression in the West Philippine Sea. A growing coalition, including Canada, France, the UK, and New Zealand, now supports the Philippines through diplomatic backing and freedom of navigation operations. Their presence in the region demonstrates a collective commitment to peace and stability. These partnerships send a clear message: the world is invested in upholding international law in the West Philippine Sea, and will not tolerate unilateral attempts to change the status quo. The dispute is no longer bilateral, it's a global test of sovereignty and the rules-based order. International organizations and media outlets now closely monitor every development, amplifying the stakes for all involved. The Philippines now stands with a formidable network of allies, drawing strength from a diverse coalition that spans continents and cultures. This collective resolve is reshaping the regional balance, sending a powerful signal that the defense of international norms is a shared global priority. The Philippines' assertive defense and alliance building, while necessary, heighten the risk of miscalculation. Beijing views these moves as U.S.-led containment, fueling nationalist sentiment and pressure for a forceful response. Increased patrols and military presence raise the chances of accidental clashes, as seen in recent near collisions and confrontations. President Marcos Jr.'s warning that Filipino deaths could trigger the U.S.-Philippines Defense Treaty adds to the stakes. Any fatal incident could escalate into a superpower conflict with catastrophic consequences for the region. The West Philippine Sea dispute is now entangled with the Taiwan issue, making the strategic landscape even more volatile. Manila must balance deterrence with diplomacy to avoid being drawn into a wider war. The West Philippine Sea struggle has become central to Filipino identity, uniting the nation in defense of its sovereignty. Images of Coast Guard crews and fishermen standing firm against China inspire national pride and resilience. Public support for assertive policies is overwhelming, giving the government a strong mandate. The conflict is transforming the military's focus from internal security to territorial defense, demanding new skills and investments. This challenge is driving broader national development and a maritime mindset. Ultimately, the fight is about the Philippines' future, choosing sovereignty over subordination. The battle for the West Philippine Sea is about the nation's soul and its place in the world. Achieving peace in the West Philippine Sea requires justice, respect, and adherence to international law. Starting with recognition of the 2016 Arbitral Award, the international community must maintain unified pressure, supporting freedom of navigation and peaceful dispute resolution. The Philippines must strengthen its defenses and alliances to deter aggression, while keeping diplomatic channels open for practical cooperation. Dialogue must be rooted in law, not power. The quest for peace is a marathon, demanding patience and principle. For the Philippines, it's a fight for its future. For the world, a test of whether law or force will prevail. Only by upholding international law can these vital waters become a source of cooperation, not conflict.